Hey, Bernard.
Hey, Devin. Ciao from Rome.
So what do you say we talk about some GDP?
Yeah, let's get into it. GDP is an acronym that's most often heard in the business press. What does it stand for? Gross domestic product. It's used all over the world. So the Japanese use it, the French use it, and we, of course, use it in the United States. Gross domestic product is basically the easiest way to describe the total value of all economic activity that occurs within a country. Even that level of detail can be kind of confusing. The best thing to describe to somebody about GDP is it's the health of the economy. If the GDP is up, the economy is up. If the GDP is down, the economy is down. So it's more these days looked at as a quick reference point to see how is the economy winning or losing at this point. It's just a natural part of us to quickly determine whether or not our society is moving in the direction we want it to move in. Within GDP, you have a couple different components. And this is what you might see the first day at Introduction to Macroeconomics. The professor would turn around to the chalkboard and he would write, or she would write, C plus I plus G plus NX. Inside gross domestic product, you imagine a box, you'd pull out the box, and you'd have C for consumption, personal consumption. It's what we spend on everything from dishwashers to haircuts. Another letter we would pull out would be I for business investment. That's everything from real estate, home purchases, to factory equipment. After that, we have the letter G for government spending. That would be anything from your F-18 fighter jet to the salaries of your preschool teacher, public school teacher. And finally, we have the last letters, net exports, which is X minus M, exports minus imports. Those would be basically the value of trade. If we are exporting more than we're importing, then that number would be positive. That has not been the case for a long time. And one of the reasons for that is that the dollar has been very strong. And so imports look pretty nice for somebody holding dollars in their wallet. The U.S. economy is a pretty stable machine. It's a locomotive that's moving in a direction. It doesn't tick that far up or that far down. And so economists every year, when they build their models, they pretty much build it in the beginning of the year, and they may tweak it a little bit here and there during the year, but they never tear it up and start over again. Coronavirus caused all the economists to just tear up their GDP models because things have gone completely off the rails. That does not happen very often. When an economist has to rip up his GDP model, it usually means something really bad has happened. It's a financial crisis, it's a war, or it's something like what we're going through right now, a global pandemic. And you might have heard another term connected to GDP, and that's called recession. Recession is 2 quarters in a row of GDP going down. Recessions are really bad for the economy, they're really bad for economists, they're really bad for consumers, and politicians really, really hate the R word. So that's what we're about to head into right now. We're going to go from a period of growth, I think it's been 23 straight quarters of growth, to today, officially, we now know that the economy has, in fact, shrunk by 4.8%, which is pretty significant. So the trillion-dollar question that economists, business leaders, and politicians are trying to get their head around is, by how much will the economy shrink? In other words, by how much will the GDP fall? Let's hope it's only a $1 trillion question. It could be more than that. Let me say something, though, about the criticisms of GDP. GDP gets a bad rap, and justifiably, it's not a perfect measure of the health of an economy. There's a good example of this. It's called the Netflix effect. With a $12 a month subscription to Netflix, I can watch whatever I want to watch. I'm paying less to consume more. Where we have created these new ways of pricing the goods and services that we want. And GDP does not do a very good job of measuring the value either that service or the consumption of those services. It does not measure something that a lot of people think is very important, which is equality, poverty, health and well-being, happiness. You might think happiness is kind of a squishy idea, but it's written into the what the founding fathers say. The other thing that it doesn't do a good job, actually completely misses, is all the things that we do for one another that doesn't get paid. Childcare, volunteering, or even looked at it another way, if we go for a jog or something like that to make ourselves healthier, there's a societal benefit to that. We are, in staying healthy, we presumably stay out of the emergency room and on and on. So there are limitations to GDP. It's just that nobody's come up with a better measure. It might be something that we rethink again in the age of the COVID-19 pandemic. Are we doing the best job of really measuring the health and well-being of an economy? You're going to need the measurement in order to grow responsibly. I'm confident that we will see a big modification of the definition of what it means to be a growing economy. GDP is one of these definitions, these standards that's going to be here to stay.